Hey everyone, I'm Kevin. Today in the Victory 4x4 garage, we're going to be installing our off-grid adventure floor in this 4th generation Toyota 4Runner. Before your new floor can be installed, you're going to have a little bit of disassembly to do here inside of the vehicle. It's really pretty simple. We're just going to be removing the 4 tie-down hooks, the carpet, and this front trim panel. For that, you're just going to need a 10mm socket. Each of these hooks is just held down with 1 screw. So you can get in the center of each of those. With the screw removed, the hook and its trim piece should pop out on these front ones. And that should allow you to get underneath and grab this front trim and carpet section. The screws for the back 2 hooks are kind of nested in underneath the carpet here, so you can get inside of there and you're just going to pull to kind of start pulling that out from under all of this outer plastic trim, and with that folded back, these hooks can be removed. Then along the back edge here, this rear trim panel can be temporarily removed with a Phillips head bit. That's just to pull the carpet out from underneath it, and then that can be reinstalled. Once you have the screws removed on that, you should just be able to get underneath one of these edges and pull up, releasing the clips that hold it in place. And that should be all it takes to free up this carpet. And from here, you can kind of just lift up and pull toward the center, releasing the edges from under those outer plastic trim panels, and the entire rear carpet can be removed. Once you have that out of the way, just be sure to snap this back in place before reinstalling the screws. Then before your floor gets installed, just take a few minutes to clean up all the years worth of dirt and debris you might find under here. So during the floor frame assembly, I'll try to refer to the rear as the rear of the vehicle and the front as the front of the vehicle, leaving this to be the rear cross section. You'll have 3 of these front to rear rails, and then this being the forward section. Then for each side, you're going to see these cover plates. These are side specific, so you kind of got to pay attention there, and the easiest way to figure it out is just stick them here in the vehicle and see which one fits best on each side. So I will grab our logoed rear crossbar as well as our center front to rear rail and kind of flip them over so the hardware is a little more visible, and we'll get started. Now, whether you're working with the center or the outside rails, they're each going to have 2 mounting holes for each rail, so they're easily identifiable here in this cross piece. When assembling these 2 pieces, you'll want to make sure the part number on this center cross rail winds up towards the rear of the vehicle or towards this bar here. Then you can just line them up, and the entire frame is going to assemble using 1/4 button head bolts with serrated flange nuts. The orientation isn't super critical of these. Just do whatever's easiest to be able to access it with your specific tools. Then once you have both fasteners in place, you can kind of push these down tight to the work surface so they're as flush as possible, and then grab a 5/32 hex to tighten them up. Now the outside rail you grab next isn't really going to matter. These aren't side specific. What is important is that you have this bolt mounting flange in towards the center, and then same thing, 1/4 button heads here. Then this forward cross piece can be installed in a similar fashion to the rear. Then the outer cover wings will slide underneath this rail and butt up tight so you can bolt through the flange here. Additionally, you'll have 1 more bolt hole out here on the end of the wing that you can tighten once you flip this back over. You You will need to leave one of those outer cover plates off until the frame is in the vehicle, and then you'll kind of have to angle it as you feed it in here. And then as you slide it over to one side, you should be able to drop it down into place. With the frame loosely down in here, you can temporarily take that second outer cover and just drop it into place. And you'll push this back kind of tight to the trim, and that will help to locate the entire frame assembly. Then you'll mark and drill the 6 mounting hole locations to install M6 Riv Nuts. So while you hold the frame down tight, you can go around and just trace all 6 of those mounting locations, and then we will remove the frame and mark and drill in the center of those. Then you can go around to all 6 hole locations and open them up to accept the Riv Nuts using the provided drill bit. You'll want to start out by center punching each hole as close to center in your mark as possible. And then begin with a smaller pilot drill bit. I think I have an 1/8 inch drill bit here. And then with the pilot hole drilled, you can step up to the larger provided bit. When you get to the 2 center holes, you should know that a little bit below here is going to be the factory fuel evap canister. So in that location, we're going to highly recommend the use of a drill stop so that you can't over drill there and damage that evap canister. If you don't have these available to you, just be extremely cautious in this location. And even if you don't have one of these, you could simply wrap tape pretty heavily around here to use that as kind of a makeshift drill stop so that you can only drill about 1/4 of an inch below this surface. We can then move on to installing our Riv Nuts. We provide you with this tool which you'll have to assemble from your bolt pack. So you're going to use the provided star washer, the high nut, followed by a standard washer and the long M6 hex bolt. You'll then thread your Riv Nut onto the end of that and place it down into your first hole. You'll then need a 10mm socket to turn the bolt and a 1/2 inch wrench to hold the nut. And then you can slowly compress this into place. Once you feel that kind of start to tighten up against the sheet metal and load up on your tool, it's a good idea to switch to a ratchet with your socket and finish tightening these by hand, just so that you don't over tighten them and damage the threads in that nut insert. You can then remove the entire bolt and tool assembly. And then looking in here, you can kind of look around and see, make sure that that's compressed nice and even against the sheet metal, and move on to the remaining 5. With all your Riv Nuts now in place, you can reinstall this frame for the final time. Again, this is just kind of angling it on the way in to give you all the proper clearance there. You can then install this outside wing for the final time. And then in this case, you'll have to kind of lift up on the entire frame to access the hardware from underneath. You'll then need to find the M6 button head bolts and washers in your hardware pack, which can be installed into all 6 Riv Nut locations. With all 6 started loosely by hand, you can tighten those in place with a 4mm hex. You can then grab your floor panels and get them prepared for installation. Now you're going to receive 4 of this longer nut tab for each floor panel. They're going to use these slots to install and mount the drawers. If you're planning to install a fridge slide on your floor, you'll be using the smaller fridge slide mounting nut tabs, which you will only receive when you purchase the fridge slide. For more information on placement of these and mounting the fridge slide, go ahead and check out the fridge slide installation video. And for our purposes here, we're going to proceed with the longer drawer mounting nut tabs. So these you'll simply place on the bottom of the floor panel. Grab another one of your 1/4 button heads with a washer and place that here in the center slot. And then it may take you a couple times kind of placing these loosely in and out of the vehicle to kind of determine where you want to slide these left to right in the slot, because that's going to determine the placement of your drawers. Once you've done that and figured that out, you can take one more bolt and just loosely install it into one of the outside threaded nuts. And with that located, tighten the center bolt to secure it in place. Then just remove the outside bolt, and these 2 nut locations is where the drawer itself will mount. Then just continue that process installing the remaining nut strips. Once you've determined your accessory mounting configuration and got your specific nut strips installed to the panels, each of these can be placed in on the frame with the part number furthest toward the front of the vehicle, and then you can install more of the 1/4 button heads into the pre-installed nuts there on the frame. Then with both panels loosely in place and all the hardware loosely started, you can work your way around with your 5/32 hex and tighten all that hardware. Then all you have left to do is mount your individual accessories. Again, for more information on those, you can always check out their individual product pages and installation documentation for more information. And if you still have any questions about those or this installation, you can always reach out to us. You can always email us at info@victory4x4.com or just give us a call at 269-459-8447.